Good morning. Welcome to our weekly App State football press conference with head coach Sean Clark. The Mountaineers will travel to Statesboro for a 6 p.m. kickoff at Georgia Southern on Saturday for their last regular season game. Coach Clark will give us an opening statement and then take questions from the media.
Good morning. Just really proud of the way we competed on Saturday with the win versus James Madison. Thought we played clean football. Anytime you don't turn the football over, and we tackle well in defense, and we can be a really good football team when that happens. This week's Georgia Southern week, and it's always exciting. I know our players are motivated and excited to play such a rivalry game. Again, the goal is always to be 1-0, and that's no difference this week as we go down to Statesboro and try to put ourselves in position for postseason play.
David Ware, 24/7 Sports. Sean, the team frequently this season has been down early in games, and you're down 14-0 less than a minute into the second quarter, and the team manages to rally itself, manages to come back and maintained its focus, maintained the intensity that it required to go on the second quarter run that you did. To what would you attribute being able, after a long season, a lot of tough games, several tough starts just like that one, to be able to prepare yourselves and then execute to get back in that game and then eventually turn it into a fairly one-sided finish?
Yeah, we have been down multiple scores this season, early in the season, even last couple of weeks. But again, our players are confident in themselves, confident in their teammates, and that really doesn't faze us. And like you said, it didn't start off well. We down a score in the opening drive. We go 3 and out. They score again, and then our offense really starts to sustain some drives, which helped our defense. But again, we tied up. Was it 17-17? Block a punt. Was executed at a high level, and it kind of flipped the momentum in the game. We talk about this all year. The momentum in football can really make a difference, and that was a big-time play there by Kahari Haynes, and Michael Hessel scooped and scored for a touchdown. The second half we came out and really played complementary football. I thought on all three phases of the game, with our offense sustained more drives, defense we got 3 and outs. And we created some turnovers on defense with a strip fumble by Sean Collins, and then we had a pick there by Chambers. And again, our offensive capitalized on those opportunities.
You mentioned in the press conference after the game that defensively they came out and they kind of aligned themselves a little differently than you had seen on film all year. And in talking with your coordinators as well, that's a common refrain I seem to hear almost every week is, we hadn't seen this set. You go to Coastal, they're running 22 personnel, and they haven't done it all season as an example. How often do you feel like you guys see that, and is that common for teams to, mix their looks every single week, or is that something that seems like it has a greater sense of things happening to App State?
Well, this year for sure. This is year 5 as a head coach, and we haven't seen it that much on consecutive weeks. But they came in different looks on defense. As a staff, you spend 13, 14 hours a day trying to put a game plan together, and you go out there and it's a different look. And the one good thing is we have base rules that we go back to, and through technology, especially when we were on offense, their defense, they give us some different looks. The first series we watched it on tape, and really it made us dictate to throw the deep ball. They were going to stop the intermediate routes, which they hadn't shown on tape, so we had to go our one-on-ones out there. That's when Mekhi Jackson got the 2 long, the 1 touchdown catch, the one, it was a 55-yard pass from Joey, and then we had to make sure to take some more shots to Dalton Stroman. And when we did that, it really loosened them up in the run game for the second half. And then on our defense, JMU's offense, they were given some different formations, different shifts, trades, and motions that we hadn't seen on tape. But again, Coach Sloan and his staff did a good job of coming back to the sideline, making some adjustments, and again, when they change, you change. So we had to make sure that when they were on the shifts and motions, we got back into a coverage and a front that we could execute.
Switching over to Georgia Southern, what are you seeing on film? What's the persona of this team?
A good football team. Coach Shelton's done a great job with his team. Again, you look at their offense is putting up great numbers. They have a great quarterback, a really good at the skill position. Their offensive line has been playing very well on defense. I mean, they don't give up many explosive plays. You have to earn it. But it's going to be a great college football game, one that we look forward to. It's a tough environment to play in, but that's why you want to play these kind of games. You can throw the record out the window because it's really going to come down to who executes adjustments and who can make some plays. So again, we have to have a great week of practice, and before we celebrate Thanksgiving and head down to Statesboro.
Marvin Parker Jr., WLOS Asheville. Playing in the snows, it's football weather. Did the team enjoy? You came out with the win, so you get to speak of it maybe a little bit higher. But how was just playing in the elements here last weekend?
Well, that's one thing I think we have an advantage of, playing in the cold weather and the wind. I guess something we train for year round. We start spring practice in February when the wind is out and it's snowing, and because we played late November here in Boone, you're not sure what kind of weather you're going to get. So I think that had an advantage. Did not phase our players one bit, and they went out and played. And even on Friday, with the wind, we had 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds with practice. I thought our offense executed that, and we were able to throw and catch. So I didn't think it was that much of a deterrent as far as our game plan. We still were going to throw the football, and we did.
Last week and then now this week, you're in a unique position where you get to play spoiler multiple weeks in a row while also just clawing for your own success. What is the mentality of the team of not trying to play spoiler, but having to for their own success?
No, it's again, we know what's at stake. I mean, there's a chance for postseason play. We're not going to make it bigger than what it is. It's such a big game, but our goal is always go 1-0, and we're not going to look ahead or look behind. And we have a task at hand, and that's what we're going to concentrate on this weekend. There's some distractions, if you will, in some ways. With school will be out on Wednesday through Friday for Thanksgiving break, and what to adjust how we do practice. But again, it's a great college football game, and the one that we're very fortunate to play in.
And then in the last 5, you guys have a very different and positive outcome. Playing against ODU at their place, a lot different than what your opponent had this week against them. They kind of, had the opposite end of that spectrum. Are you looking at that tape specifically, or just kind of holistically across the season? How do you attack film session this week?
No, again, we do a 4-game breakdown of our opponents before the season starts, and then we try to go and find teams that are very similar to how we run the football, how we do our offense and defense, and get a 4 or 5 game breakdown that way as well. So again, we'll stick to how we do things, how we break videotape, how can we attack on both sides in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. But again, it's a great college football game. I keep saying all the time, because this is one that man, you look forward to every year. Every game's important, but this game has a little bit more added to it because it's such a great rivalry game. And again, their fan base it's a great place to play down in Statesboro. They have a great fan base. It's going to be a hostile environment, but again, it's something we're accustomed to in the Sun Belt, and we had to play our very best to have a chance to win.
Nicholas Ragone with Appalachian Weekly News and App TV. Game, you guys were down Caden Robinson, who has become a bit of a safety blanket for Joey Aguilar over the last 2 seasons. Who were some names that you saw step up in spite of losing such an impactful player? Yeah,
it's hard to replace Caden Robinson. I mean, just what he brought to our program from every aspect. I mean, he was one of the hardest workers in practice. I mean, always had a smile on his face, and he's what App State's all about, getting a second chance. But, you look at Mekhi Jackson, he had a few more targets than he usually has. Dalton Sherman played well. Christian Horn, a guy we don't talk about, been here 5 years and has been very consistent through his career. Michael Hessel has some big catches, and Chris Lawson stepped in as well. So, but again, we can't put all the pressure in the passing games, and so I thought we ran the ball well at times. I think our offensive line's gotten better week in and week out. Amani's rushing the ball. He's a physical runner, so we'll spread it out a little bit, but that's what you do recruiting for. I mean, next man mentality, one guy gets hurt, the next man steps up.
You mentioned Amani Marshall and the offensive line as a unit that's really grown this year. How has having such a dynamic running back who is now, I think, 3 weeks in a row that he's had over 100 rushing yards, how has that helped take some of the pressure off of Joey Aguilar?
Well, it's helped for sure. I mean, anytime you can hand the ball to a 220-pound running back and let him do his work is always good. And it always starts up front, our offensive line and tight ends. And, our receivers are blocked well on the perimeter, which is, some of those 5-6 yard gains turn into, 12 and 14-yard gains. And that was one of the biggest difference makers this past week, as we had 11 explosive plays. An explosive play for us is 10-yard run or a 15-yard pass. So, again, don't turn the football over, have some explosive plays, and you have a chance to win a football game.
And then on the opposite end of the spectrum for the defense, there have been times where stopping the run has been a bit of a struggle, but you guys kept Alonzo Barnett, who has really made a name for himself as a really strong two-way quarterback. What did you see differently this week that allowed you guys to really keep him in check, especially in the running game?
Well, I thought first that was one of our goals going to the game, to keep him in the pocket and don't let him beat you with his feet. And that's going to be hard to do. He was a great thrower. He's a great runner as well. But the biggest thing is we were successful on first down, which put them behind the chains. Their average was second and 3.6 yards, I believe, throughout the season. And we were able to give them third and long, let our defensive line pin their ears back and come after them. And I guess anytime you get 4 sacks in a game, it could be a difference maker in the outcome.
Obviously, huge week across college football, but it is Thanksgiving. Anything special happening on Thursday with you and the team?
No, we will have our Thanksgiving meal on Tuesday night here at our complex on Tuesday evening, and we'll come in Thursday morning, have breakfast, have a big breakfast, go out and practice, then get away and have a chance to enjoy some NFL football and just be a fan for a little bit. But the kids that live close by will have a chance to leave and have dinner with their families, and we'll reconvene Thursday night, practice Friday morning, and head to Statesboro.
Matt, President, Appalachian Sports Network, you opened your statement today talking about playing a clean football game. You guys had 0 penalties in the game against JMU. Just speak to the way you're impressed with the discipline and how impactful that was on the final result.
Well, that has been Achilles' heel for us, some drive stoppers and extended drives on our defense. But that's hard to do. I'm not sure how many times that's been done here at App. I'm not sure. Probably on one hand, in 24 years of coaching, that would be a question for Brett Strelo. But again, it's hard to do. But you go back and watch the tape. I didn't see anything on film that a flag should have been thrown. I mean, I thought the officials did a great job of letting both teams play. And that was evident through the tape. I mean, there were some times that it could have been a PI or couldn't have been a PI, but again, they were called the same way on both sides of the ball for JMU and for App. So very impressive. Hope we can do it again this week.
2 years ago, you went down to Statesboro in a very similar situation and lose a close game in double overtime. How much, if at all, does that experience inform the messaging and the mentality this week for the team?
Well, again, and we talked last night in our team. I'm not sure how many players were here. We went down in 22 for that game, but we will talk about that. But again, every year is different. This is a new team, even from last year, with a lot of new faces in our program. So they understand the importance of this game and what it means. And again, it's just one of those rivalry games. This is the Georgia-Florida, the Auburn-Alabama. This goes way back. And again, 2 great programs going out to play a great college football game.
Just one from me, Brett Strelo, penalty researcher. I want to touch on each team went for it from deep in their own territory. I guess the outcome probably affects if people think it was a good decision or not, but just the way the first half ended, to go for that and to go from possibly being down, even maybe multiple scores in the first half, to going into the break 2 scores, just how much did that, what was the talking point like to go for it before then you had the big passing play?
Well, it's something I said this in the press conference on Saturday. It's something we spent a lot of time on, myself and Coach Spear, of when to go for it, when not to go for it. I think is another example. And it could go both ways sometimes. But our defense was playing better at the time. We get the first down. The next play, if I'm not mistaken, was a touchdown. Is that correct? Yeah. So I mean, it worked out good for us. If it didn't work out, it probably would have got hit by another snowball.
In a similar vein, late in the game, you guys have it and decide to put Michael Hughes in to kick a field goal on 4th and short to make it a 14-point game. I'm sure having him back has some degree of implication on that, but is that how much of that is dictated by personnel and how much of it is dictated by down and distance and time and score? Well,
there was a few factors that were involved in that decision. One was we had Michael back. Michael's a strong leg, and he had a great week of practice. The wind was in our favor. If the wind was in our favor, it probably would have been a go. But again, anytime you got a chance to be able to put us up 3 at the time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And again, we have a lot of confidence in Michael. And there was discussion about going for it, but the wind had kind of changed when it was at his back, and we felt that was the best decision for our football team.
All right, any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.